Well, I want to bring in now Richard Medhurst, a British journalist who focuses on international affairs. Welcome to the programme. The first thing I want to ask you is the Taliban today in that press conference, it was a huge charm offensive. They definitely had a game plan out there. Do you think the game plan for the West to recognise the Taliban is going to work?
Thanks for having me on. Well, I mean, the Taliban, they've made promises. They're saying that they're going to respect women's rights, and, you know, they're trying to establish some sort of détente with the West, saying that they're going to incorporate all these values that were supposed to be central to the Afghan government that was set up by the United States and its NATO allies. They've obviously failed in that mission, and so they've lost all legitimacy in Afghanistan. Their government crumbled within days, and as a matter of fact, its image has been crumbling in a matter of days. We've known for decades now that the war in Afghanistan is lost. It was lost from day one. This government was never going to work, and you had a series of U.S. generals and NATO officials lying about the capacity and capability of the Afghan government that they set up, and the security forces, who they pumped full of weapons to make money for the arms industry. And so the Taliban now, Afghanistan is bordering 6 countries, notably Iran and China, and Russia's in close proximity, and so they need, these countries have neither condemned nor approved of the Taliban. They're, taking a measured, slow response because they want to have security and stability on their borders. They've just come out of 20 years of an American occupation on their doorstep, and so they want to make sure that they can go forward, again, neither approving nor condemning the new government next door. The Taliban have, of course, territorial control. They don't have what is, of course, the Western legitimacy just yet, neither from the UN nor from, and certainly not from the US and the UK, who have egg on their faces because they've been telling us for 20 years that they're trying to set up a government there, and they have failed miserably because the whole thing was a racket to make money for the weapons industry. It was never about nation building or about delivering democracy. It was about making money for the private sector. It's that simple.
I want to ask you, human rights is something that Biden talked about yesterday. Again, he said the Taliban will have to show that they are abiding by what he says the civilized world says human rights. Do you think that that is the main issue when it comes to accepting the Taliban?
No, the main issue is whether it's profitable and convenient for the United States to accept the Taliban. When the fall of Saigon happened in 1975, it took the United States about 20 years until 95 to establish ties with Vietnam. So who knows how long it's going to take with Afghanistan if the Taliban assume control fully and legitimately. However, this idea that it's because of human rights is laughable. I mean, the United States, who gave the Mujahideen weapons in the Cold War? This is the United States. They didn't care about their human rights record when they were giving them weapons. Who's been allowing Saudi Arabia to export Wahhabism? They don't care about Saudi Arabia's human rights record. This whole thing also about women's rights, they're making a big noise about it in Afghanistan. What about Saudi Arabia? Why nothing about Saudi Arabia? Why nothing about Egypt? Is it because they're U.S. allies? So this has nothing to do with human rights. This is a facade. This is a joke. The real issue here is whether it's convenient for the United States, whether it's profitable, and whether they can salvage their crumbling empire. Because, as I said, they have egg on their face. They've lost all legitimacy. And usually when countries are fleeing and driven out of Afghanistan, their empires crumble soonly thereafter.
If the Taliban fails to court Western favour, what does that mean for the country, for Afghanistan and for the Afghan people?
Well, of course, the United States will, slap sanctions and more sanctions on them as they do, since military force doesn't seem to be working after so much time. I mean, as I said, this was a failed endeavor from day one. I don't think that they have much room left I don't think they have much headroom left because the Taliban, as I said, borders Iran and China. Iran and China have different plans. We're moving away from a world built on American hegemony to a multipolar world. There's a Belt and Road Initiative. Who knows whether Afghanistan will be integrated into that in the near future or thereafter. So Afghanistan has other options for the time being. However, I think it is, as one of your former guests said, it is important for the Taliban to keep some people in the bureaucracy in place because they have a huge challenge ahead of them, which is running the country. I don't think that they're up to it because they've just barely assumed territorial control. It's very unlikely that they can run the economy, the health, and other facilities that have been decimated by a 20-year occupation and 40 years of conflicts and war. So they have a huge task ahead of them. I think the most important thing to see is how Russia, China, and Iran deal with Afghanistan and consider ties with them, not necessarily the United States alone, because obviously the Taliban have they've called their bluff.
Well, I think absolutely the implications of this go far beyond Afghan borders. That is for sure. I don't think anyone quite understood the repercussions and ripple effect that it would have. We appreciate you coming onto the programme, sharing us your thoughts. That was Richard Medhurst, a British journalist focusing on international affairs.
Thanks.